Before I talk today, I'd like to acknowledge the First Nation people and the lands on which we gather today. We recognise their deep spiritual connection to this land and the everlasting strength and wisdom of their culture. We pay our respect to paramount people and elders, past, present, and emerging, for their custodianship of our land. We acknowledge the significant contributions the Indigenous people have made and continue to make to our community. We also acknowledge that this land was never ceded. It always was and always will be Indigenous land. Now to start, I'd like to take you on a journey today. A journey that begins with closing your eyes and listening. Can you hear it? The gentle rustling of the leaves, the musical chirping of the birds, and the smooth whisper of the wind through the trees. This is what it means to be in country, the feeling of being profoundly connected with the natural world around you. And this is where my project began. At the beginning of the year, Ivy Campbell, a senior paramount woman, shared this lesson of listening to country with me. Today, I stand before you to share my personal journey, one that has profoundly impacted my understanding of the paramount people and their culture, all through the eyes of a young white fella. Throughout my project, my primary question revolved around how to effectively capture the essence of spirit through an art form, how to bring an ancient dreaming story into the modern world through art, and how to navigate the delicate nature of collaboration with the paramount people. My journey began with the recognition that to grow my awareness about Indigenous Australia culture, I needed to establish some fundamental understanding. So I turned to literature and began to research. On materials such as Sand Talk by Tyson Younger Porter and Ochre Warriors by Cole and Hunter. Here I established some basic principles on Indigenous culture, particularly the paramount people. These texts became my companions on my path, opening doors to a world that I hadn't fully comprehended, and it felt so distant to me. I felt like I needed to know more because I live on the land of the paramount people. But the key to my journey was not found in books. It was rooted in the ancient dreaming of Tabuki, a story that was shared with me and permission was granted to explore and share it through art. This story covers the same terrain that I travel each week, going from Mount Barker to Ordinga. So I felt like I had a personal connection with this land and this story. Yet I quickly understood that reading alone could only take me so far. I realised I needed to engage with Indigenous elders and community members. Through these conversations, I swiftly realised the importance of gaining their guidance and essentially their permission to delve into their culture as an outsider to the paramount clan. I comprehended the significance of acknowledging and respecting their traditions, knowledge, and ways of being. This was not merely a journey of learning, but a journey of humility and respect for a culture that has existed long before my own. Just gotta grab a drink. To guide me through this transformative journey, I turned to David Booth, an Indigenous artist who has ties to the paramount people. We embarked on the creation of a sculpture, the emu, otherwise known as Kari in the Tabuki dreaming. Like all Dreamtime stories, they represent lore that operates within culture, combining animals, ancestors, spirit, and the right ways of living. as well as the transformation of landscapes. In a nutshell, the Tabuki story is about fairness and starts with a hunt for the kari, which is the emu. Tabuki, a skilled hunter, comes across tracks of a male emu. He plans a hunt. However, before he can catch the bird, his nephew, Kawatui, kills it. Tabuki, who has already claimed the bird, confronts Kawatui and says it was his. Kawatui apologizes for his mistakes and offers the meat to Tabuki, but Tabuki, happy with his apology, moves on. Later, Kawatui checks the cooking emu by lifting the beak of the bird. The bird releases steam that blinds him. Seizing their opportunity, Kawatui's hunting partners spear him and kill him. Tabuki discovers evidence of his nephew's death and wants to make things right. He sets fire to the neighboring clan's huts in the dark of the night. The people fleeing from their burning huts are speared by Tabuki. Some escapees transform into birds, and others into sharks as they run into the sea. Satisfied, but also saddened and weary, Tabuki goes to a cave where he finds refuge. He kills a Karawang bird and covers himself in the fat and feathers. This is where Tabuki transforms into an ibis. Sculpture has always been a long fascination of mine, and previously I have attempted to create three-dimensional forms. This project would allow me to explore the art of sculpture by creating two different forms using two different mediums and infusing it with a deeply meaningful story from the Paramount culture. This would preserve and celebrate their traditions of the dreaming of Tabuki. Together, David Booth and I carefully considered the appearance and materials used for the emu. Recycled metal became our choice of material, as we aimed to use the rusty metal to emulate the deep red colours of Australia. In bringing the emu to life, I discovered 4 phases in the sculptural process, including thorough observation, bringing life to the medium, texturing, detailing, and bringing spirit into the form. In phase 1, I observed the unique characteristics of the emu. It was paramount in developing the familiar qualities for the viewer. Hence, the emu has an upright, curious look. In phase 2, we used materials that would resemble the different parts of the emu's body. Here you can see a smashed cast iron fire pit was utilised for the belly of the emu. Railway pins were used for the feet, and the knees, as you can see here, are 3 kilo weights. The neck used rebar, and lastly, the beak was an axe head to highlight the width of the beak and big eyes of the face. The next phase was bringing the art form alive, to bring out the detail of the sculpture with texture. The emu neck was highlighted with rebar, giving it a fan-like structure, hinting at the feathered bronze bound on the bushy neck. The rebar was also used to show the thin, scaly, calloused legs of the emu. Watching the bird start emulate some real characteristics was super satisfying, but challenging in the way that I could not make a mistake or would lose its essence of life. The final stage was about bringing spirit into the sculpture. In discussions with David Booth, the spirit of the emu was proud. I wanted the emu to be a piece that creates an eye-catching puzzle that would emulate a picture of a proud emu, wary of being hunted. Through the processes of creating the sculpture. I wanted to highlight the inner skeleton and engineering to bring out the piece and to create more curiosity for the eye as it travels over the form. As you can see in the foyer, there is my final piece, Tabuki's transformation. And it was carved out of limestone, what was locally sourced. This piece tells the final part of the story, where Tabuki is saddened and tired by the events. And this is shown through the piece, with the big eyes, the big tears falling from the eyes, the big mouth, and aged forehead. The feathers on the back of his head, as you can see here, represent the smearing of the Karawang's fat and feathers on Tabuki. The ibis on top of his head shows the transformation of Tabuki into an ibis. And if you look closely, you can still see the ibis, saddened and crying. Even though I have never done rock carving before this, I felt like it was the perfect medium to tell the end of the story. The rock held the story, and I was there to uncover it, and the processes of carving will allow me to do this. As a beginner sculptor, one of the most exciting parts of the project was witnessing the sculptures come to life, knowing they weren't just pieces, but vessels that carried a meaningful story from the Paramount people. The beautiful thing about sculpturing is it can tell so much and capture so much in one image. The second sculpture provided me lessons of a different kind, whilst the first allowed me to study the processes of developing the sculpture. The second art form gave me a lesson of navigating the delicate nature of the Paramount people. This sculpture was of Tabuki's face, and to complete the design, I needed to find the most culturally appropriate version of the story. This story has many different versions as it travels through many different clans, including Ghana, Ngarrindjeri, Paramount, and many more. This story varies with different animals and different storylines on the clan. I found it difficult to locate the most culturally fitting story because much of the Paramount culture is still in oral form. And suggested by Courtney Huberman Hunter, a Paramount woman I interviewed, the culture is endangered with less than 100 people left. The small number of Paramount people meant it was hard to make connections to find the right version of the story, especially as I had little contacts in and outside of school with Paramount people. Time was becoming precious. In trying to complete my sculptures on time, and I became anxious that I could not finish the second sculpture or that it would be culturally inappropriate. Through this project, I developed relationships with various Paramount people. And I did not want to disrespect this opportunity. I wanted to respect the opportunity by creating 2 art forms that told the dreaming of Tabuki. I came to understand the delicate nature of the Paramount people and their ways of being, and how significant for us in the hills the importance of this sleeping culture is to support and grow. As their ancient knowledge and ways of being carry much understanding for young people of Australia to come to know. The project showed me the power of combining different elements, like pairing a middle-aged Indigenous artist with a young, white apprentice sculptor, and merging it with an ancient dreaming story with modern sculpturing techniques. Through these opposites but complementary elements, something new and beautiful for the times was created. It showed the importance of bridging traditions and innovation the power of collaboration between different cultures, and the significance of preserving and celebrating ancient Indigenous traditions, particularly the dreaming of Tabuki. It produced art forms that speak on the time, allowing the story to be timeless, and allowing a young white male, myself, to learn about the importance of dreaming. The project allowed me to realize how art, in this case sculpture, can tell a story, and became day-to-day reminders of ancient traditions and how we can make them relevant again in the modern world today. The cycle of sharing dreaming from generation to generation has no past, but tells a story that is always relevant in the now. Another insight was the collaboration with David Booth and the processes of creating the sculpture, as it really was a journey of discovery, both about sculpturing and Indigenous culture. The method of sculpturing came easy to me, and I was mostly caught up in the creation process, with imagining, visualizing, assembling, and problem solving to allow me to get stuck within the form. There were very few times of frustration in the assembly process. I became lost in making the dreaming come to life. In regards to learning about Paramonk through understanding a dreaming story, I gained profound awareness of interconnectedness of all things, including animals, ancestors, spirit, and time. The quote from the start of my speech by Ivy Campbell, "Close your eyes and your own country," is true. For me, sculpture serves as a real representation of interconnectedness of all things. Throughout this project, there were personal successes and challenges. The successes included the sense of achievement from having an idea and working through the issues to create an art form that tells a significant Paramonk story. The creative breakthroughs came from successes with collaboration, understanding through imagination. Another success was buying my own welder. The challenges revolve the delicate nature of connection with the Paramonk people and their ways of being. This led to anxiety around developing sculptural pieces that may not be culturally appropriate. And I did not want to disrespect the people that I've developed relationships with. Another challenge was the cancellation of my community project. However, this disappointment led to a more focused project where the sculptures could be created with greater attention to detail and more authenticity. A heartbreaking challenge was when my emu sculpture collapsed in front of me and smashed to pieces. What to do? My almost years-long endeavor lay in pieces at my feet. I was devastated. There was only one thing I could do, and this was pick up the pieces and start again. Within 24 hours, I had the sculpture back to where it was. The golden thread that inspired and guided me was the desire to create something that preserves and celebrated Indigenous traditions, whilst deepening my own understanding of interconnectedness. What does dreaming in the modern world mean to me? It means that connections between opposites can bridge the gap between ancient traditions and the modern world. Respecting the sacredness of Indigenous knowledge, in particular, the dreaming of Tabuki. And at the same time, making it relevant again today. The collaboration with various different Paramonk people has deepened my awareness and has done this more than any book could. And these collaborations gave me a greater insight into their culture. The opportunity for a young adolescent to have experience with Indigenous Australia would give deeper awareness, and then the paramount culture wouldn't seem so removed from their worlds. This poses the next question. How can authentic collaboration with paramount people be had regularly and over the period while a young person is growing up? This experience revealed to me the vital importance of cultural sensitivity and engagement with Indigenous culture for a young Australian. I hope the audience takes away from this talk. I hope the audience takes away from these pieces the importance of bridging the gap between culture, the importance of upholding Indigenous traditions, and the understanding of the profound interconnectedness of all things. This project has changed me by deepening my respect for Indigenous culture and their wisdom, particularly the wisdom contained within the Tabuki dreaming. It also has highlighted my appreciation of the power of art to connect people and stories across cultures. Thank you. Just before questions, I thought this was quite important. If you have a look at this little video, it kind of puts getting lost as at the beginning of the speeches, as Alexa said in the flow state. So just witness this one. Thank you. Yes, Sonia?
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Well done, Linden.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask, what was your community project going to be?
So I had many different versions. Like, there was a talk about putting it on, so out the back of Nan, there is the resting place of Tabuki. And there was talk of putting those on the land as to represent the resting place. So that was one of them. The other one was working with Mandy, I think it was, and going up to Nortnort to clean up the site up there. There's a very sacred site up there where you can really see the some rock paintings. But through the floods, all the bush got like dragged in front of it. So I was going to bring a group of people up there to help out in that, but we couldn't do that because of insurance stuff. And then I had an idea for working with, like, I think it was our class or the year 11th on just sculpturing a piece together, but it was right at the end of term, so I kind of ran out of time. Yes.
Thank you.
Linden,
Yes.
on this your journey, do you think that you will pursue through that?
Oh, well, yeah, I love doing art. Like, this is so much fun. And I like working with metal, and I also like working with rock. So I don't reckon there's like one medium that I want to continue with. I want to continue with multiple because I find them very fun to work with. Yeah. Mum?
I'm very proud of you, Linda. We've had a tough year and you really shined tonight.
Thanks.
My question to you is, in Class 8, we had a mini project and Linden decided to do underwater diving. And I asked him, Linden, what do you find so fascinating about being underwater? And he said, I love the light. I love the look of light under the water. So my question to you is, Linden, what is it you love about sculpturing?
Ooh. What do I love about sculpturing? Well, I love the creation process. And to create something that is like your idea and you build it from the ground up is pretty amazing. And I guess to answer that, I would say I love the creation process.
Linden, well done. The ocean is another passion of yours. How it was quite a challenging year, in many layers. But I remember speaking to you when that sculpture fell apart, and I know you spoke about putting the pieces together one at a time. How did the ocean play a part in your just breathing out in those tough times throughout the project?
Well, actually, this year, like I'm a big surfer. I like to surf. So this year, I haven't actually had that opportunity as much as we all have been very busy with our work. So I guess just looking at the ocean gives you a sense of calmness and just a recentering in a sense, if that answers it.
Lyndon, your pieces are just beautiful. I think you should be so proud of what you've created, and the fact that you've got so much meaning that you've put into them just makes them so much more significant. I'm just wondering if you have found a home for them. You said that you were looking at one location. Have you thought about where they might be able to be shared with people? Because that would be really lovely.
Yeah. So there was talk to put it on a land, but at this stage, I just kind of want to get them from where they were created, just back there to start, and then from there we'll see. There's no real, there's no real like push for anything. I actually want to do. There's meant to be a middle piece in between those two, and me being ambitious, I wanted to do 3 this year, but quickly realised I could only do 2. So I probably will work on the 3rd piece when I get my head around it. Yeah. Yeah, so I gave you a very brief version of Tabuki, but I wanted to stress, and I didn't really say this in my speech, but the tears of Tabuki are where you find from Rapid Bay all the way up to Noarlunga and the hills, there are pools. And this is where Te has cried, and he's cried so much that the water seeped into the land and created these wells. So I wanted to create something in there, and then a little bit more from the beginning of the story. So yeah, that's the idea. Yes. Alrighty. Just quickly, I would like to thank some people for helping me on my Year 12 journey. I want to start off with David Booth. He's not here today, but he was a saviour of my piece because I didn't know how to navigate through the right way of creating my art forms. So he helped me through that a lot. Unfortunately, I had to step out towards the end of the year, so I turned to Courtney, who is just a pool of knowledge. I interviewed her. Well, I've got a recording of, I think it's an hour and a half, but we were there for like 5. So she's definitely a great help, and she was one of the people who found the ending of the Te story, the Paramonk version. It was a massive struggle this year. I don't think I stressed that enough. It was very scary, but yeah. I would also like to acknowledge that Rose, Eleanor, and Beck Hills here. But yeah, these were people that helped me just push through, gave me ideas when I needed them. Aaron, for his lovely words and always open for a chat. Our class for, sticking by me. And my family, my little sister, who just is a bundle of joy. My older sister, who was always there for a chat. My mum, to help me get through all this work, because I don't think I would have been able to do it without her. And Dad, I didn't stress this enough in the talk, but he was by my side making these artworks, going through all the struggles with me, and he actually taught me how to sculpture. So I just owe my pieces to Dad, so when you look at them, think of him too. So thank you, everyone.